Hello, I'm Edward October. Over the years, I've narrated more ghost stories, horror shows, and creepypastas than I can count. And yet, the crimes discussed on our true crime podcast managed to scare the shit out of me. This program is not suitable for children or the faint of heart. If you are such a person, go ahead and switch off this podcast. Listen to something else. Are you still with us? Well, we've warned you.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Cam, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty darn well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Great.
Just
going crazy, as we talked about earlier with the cicadas.
They are the music of the people these days here, and boy, is it loud. That's all I'm going to say about that.
So loud. So loud. I keep thinking my doors are open or something, that they're just,
I
they're
just
fine.
keep thinking that.
I like them. I think they're cool, but they are so loud.
But, good for them.
Exactly.
They're finding their people out there.
Exactly.
They're getting matched up and, getting lucky, the little boogers, and then they disappear for 7 to 13 years again. Anywho, I got a case for you today.
All right, let's hear it.
Okie dokie, here we go. On August 7th, 1995, in Aroma Park, Illinois, 9-year-old Christopher Meyer approached his mom, Mika Moulton, asking for permission to visit the Aroma Park boat launch by the Kankakee River. Christopher would spend the summers with his mother, but during the school year, he would reside with his father, Jim, in Walla Walla, Washington. Micah permitted him to go ahead and go to the boat launch, but she set a curfew for him, instructing him to return home no later than 5 p.m. Dressed in a green patterned t-shirt, blue shorts, Ninja Turtle underwear, and sporting Chicago Blackhawks high-top shoes, Christopher excitedly headed out the door, hopped on his bike, and made his way toward the river. When 5 o'clock came and went, Micah began to worry. She went out to search for Christopher, but was unsuccessful, so she returned home to phone the police and report Christopher missing. The police gathered a small search party to look for Christopher for the next several days. On August 8th, searchers conducted a river drag and discovered one of those Chicago Blackhawk high tops that Christopher was wearing near the Aroma Park boat launch. They also found his bicycle that he was last seen riding, tossed into a wooded spot near the boat launch. On the morning of August 9th, 1995, Christopher's other shoe was discovered floating in the river near the country club. On August 12th, searchers located remnants of Christopher's clothing in a parking lot off Hunting Area 10 in Kankakee State Park. Off of a path from the parking lot, investigators found a piece of Christopher's t-shirt on the ground, while a pair of Ninja Turtle underwear was discovered hanging in a nearby bush. Local authorities began to uncover accounts from multiple individuals who had seen Christopher in the company of a man at the boat launch on the day that he disappeared. 14-year-old Jacob went to the boat launch with his friend Paul on the day in question, just to enjoy an afternoon of fishing. While the boys were there, they told police that they saw a dark-haired man with a mustache dressed in jean cutoffs and a turquoise shirt lingering around the area. Jacob said he saw Christopher talking to the man, and Jacob had known Christopher since they both liked to hang out at the boat launch, so they occasionally saw each other and would chat. Another witness, Edward, age 15, informed police that around 4 p.m. on the day of the crime, he was at the boat launch with his best friends. Edward claimed that they observed Christopher emerging from the woods adjacent to the boat launch, then proceeded to walk towards a car where he started a conversation with a man. He claimed that after Christopher talked to the man, Christopher then got on his bike and started to make his way home. Or at least that's what he thought. Edward then added that the stranger's car proceeded to circle the parking lot slowly before exiting toward Harry's bait shop. Christopher rode out of the parking lot after the car, which looked to be either a gray or dark blue car, something similar to a 1984 Oldsmobile Sierra. On August 10th, 1995, Edward positively identified the defendant's car from a lineup of 25 to 30 cars that were brought into the parking lot of the sheriff's department. Another witness named Beth was at the boat launch on August 7th, 1995, with her boyfriend. She claimed that she saw Christopher pushing his bike while following a man in his late 30s to early 40s. She described the man just as Jacob had described him, and saw Christopher and the man coming out of the woods. Yet another witness, Charlie, said that while driving home from work, he saw the car parked in the park's parking area, and the car was facing him, and the man was standing behind it near an open trunk. As Henry drove past, he got a good look at the man, who was carrying a fillet knife in a leather case sticking out of his back pocket. He came forward to police about what he saw 2 days later. The next day, he was brought into the station, and he too picked out the car that he thought he saw from that day. The day after that, he identified the man from a lineup. Police were able to come up with a composite sketch of the man they believed responsible for the disappearance of Christopher Meyer. When the composite sketch hit the papers, something strange happened. A man named Richard Huffman took the newspaper to show his wife the sketch. Richard asked his wife, "Do you know who that is?" "Look at those eyes. I know who it is." Richard then said, "It is Tim Bus." But that had to be impossible because Tim Bus was still in prison serving time for a murder that he had committed in 1981. Richard called the police to tell them who he believed the man in the sketch to be. 27-year-old Timothy Bus was no stranger to authorities. In Bradley, Illinois, it's May 21st, 1981, when 5-year-old Tara Sue Huffman headed out and down the street to meet up with a friend to play. Her brother, 13-year-old Richard Huffman, came home to surprise his baby sister with a turtle he had found. Like many kids, Tara Sue loved animals of any kind. When he got home, he asked his mom where his sister was, and the mom said, she just went down the street to play. So Richard made his way to the neighbor's home. When he arrived, he was shocked to hear that they had not seen Tara Sue that day. Richard went back home to inform his parents, who then hopped on the phone to call around and see if anyone had seen her. The family was not too worried since they lived in a very safe area, and they believed Tara was probably just distracted and lost track of time. Richard went back out to search for Tara, along with several other people. As the team was walking the neighborhood, someone caught Richard's eye. There was a boy about his age sitting on a porch. Richard took note of the boy because he had a bizarre glare, and he continued just to stare at Richard. As the two locked eyes, the boy stood up and joined in the search for Tara. It wasn't long before one of the search parties went to investigate the city dump, and it was here that a voice echoed out, "I found her." The person who found Tara Sue was Timmy Bus, the 13-year-old with the blank stare that Richard had seen earlier on the porch. Timmy had tried to lift her remains out of the pit, but another person told him not to touch her. Just a half an hour later, an ambulance comes onto the scene. This time, Richard's mother, along with his two sisters, were all outside. A police officer approached them as they were demanding to know what was going on. The officer informed them that they had found a body. Although I'm sure they already knew in their hearts, Richard asked if it was Tara Sue. The officer responded, "We believe so." As Richard made the walk back to his home to inform his father that they had found Tara, he had to walk past a police car. As he got closer, he noticed that there was someone inside. It was that boy who found Tara Sue, and it also just happened to be the boy who killed Tara Sue. An autopsy would reveal that Tara had been brutally beaten to death and sexually assaulted with a wooden rod. Her cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. During his conversation with the police, Timothy mentioned that he had been staying at his aunt's house. He claimed that after he helped a neighbor in washing their car, he proceeded to go visit a friend. Later, his grandmother retrieved him and brought him back to his residence, where he remained until evening. It was then that he received the news of Tara's disappearance. Now, contrary to Timothy's statement, the friend he reportedly spent time with was actually in Florida at the time. Oops, he told a lie. Additionally, officers observed a scratch on Tim's face and a stain resembling blood on his pants. A neighbor stepped forward, revealing that Tim had knocked on her door, requesting to borrow a wagon. He appeared sweaty and fidgety and had a barrel with him. He claimed it was filled with junk, and he said he wanted the wagon to transport his load of junk that was in the barrel to the dump. Witnesses reported seeing Timothy with a small child. Both of them were carrying a barrel down the alley. Later, the barrel tested positive for Tara's blood, and bore Timothy's handprint. Forensic analysis further revealed that the blood stain on Timothy's pants matched Tara's blood that was found in the barrel. 13-year-old Timothy Bus was tried as an adult and convicted of first-degree murder. In December of 1981, he was sentenced to 25 years in prison. While in prison, cellmates would say that Tim often bragged about brutally murdering 5-year-old Tara. Now, shockingly,
he was 13 and he went to prison? Was this juvie?
As an adult, no. That's why this case is a little controversial, because he was only 13. Tried as an adult, convicted of first-degree murder, and he got 25 years for killing 5-year-old Tara. But there's a twist. There's always a twist.
There's always a twist, yeah.
Shockingly, Tim Bus was granted parole in 1993 after only serving 12 years of his 25-year sentence. Ugh. Tim Bus was now a free man walking around the streets in this quaint community, but now police have to wonder if this child killer struck again. The Kankakee Police Department went to Terry and David Bus's house. These are Tim's stepmother and father. Timothy's stepmother refused to talk to the police without a lawyer, but later that day, Timothy's dad, David, told them Timothy wasn't living there. He was staying with his sister in Joliet, Illinois. The police then go to Timothy's sister's house, but found that nobody was there, and Tim was not where he was supposed to be either, which was his workplace. Now, Teresa Billingsley placed a phone call to the police regarding a motel guest at her motel. Teresa was the desk manager at the B&P Motel in Braidwood when around 10 p.m. a man checked into the hotel under the name of Jim Benson. This man just happened to be driving a blue-gray, older model 4-door Spectrum. Teresa thought that the man resembled that composite sketch that police had handed out to local merchants earlier. Due to her keen eye, police placed this Jim Benson under surveillance at the motel. And Jen, wouldn't you just know it? Jim Benson was not his real name. His real name was Timothy Bus.
Yep.
The following morning, another desk clerk, Marcia, stated that around 8:25 a.m., Tim Bus checked out of the hotel. Watching him leave the office, she watched Tim throw a pair of boots in the motel dumpster. Marcia then asked another guest to retrieve the boots and put them in a plastic bag, which she would then hand over to Braidwood police officer Keith Kemp. Kemp noted that the boots were soaking wet when he received them. Deputy Sheriff Brady Bertrand had been staking out the hotel and watching Tim's movements. After seeing him toss those boots, he noted that Tim got into his car and Bertrand would follow him to the Wilmington Dam. Now, shortly after Deputy Bertrand and Timothy arrived at the Wilmington Dam, Detective Rich Sims, Lieutenant Larry Osagna, and Lieutenant Gary Mitchell all meet up with Bertrand. Backup, if you will. Lieutenant Mitchell approached Tim, introduced himself, and told him that they needed to talk to him. He noted that Tim was extremely nervous, knowing why they were there, obviously. At the police request, Tim drove his car to the sheriff's department while he was followed by the 2 other officers behind him. After consulting with his lawyer, Tim agreed to allow a search of his vehicle. Tim Bus was arrested on August 10, 1995. Christopher's body wasn't found until August 15, 1995, making it 5 days later, in Will County. Scott Swearingen and another deputy were searching hunting areas in the state park area in the morning. Sadly, as they were searching near the trail off the parking lot that I talked about earlier, they discovered the body of a child in a shallow grave, covered by a thin sheet of plywood. When forensic evidence was completed, it was proved to be the body of Christopher Meyer. Christopher had died from more than 50 stab wounds, and he too was sexually mutilated. Due to the disappearance and now murder of Christopher Meyer from August 7, 1995, Timothy D. Bus was indicted on first-degree murder, aggravated kidnapping, and aggravated unlawful restraint. Now, during the trial, many would take the stand to testify. Forensic pathologist Dr. Larry Bloom testified about Christopher's autopsy. The doctor said that Christopher was undressed and had signs of decomposition. There was also bruising to Christopher's jaw, and he counted 52 stab wounds and cuts to his chest, abdomen, and back. Blum believed that the weapon was a single-edged knife that was relatively long and narrow, possibly a fillet knife. Mm-hmm. This same weapon was used to remove his genitalia. The cause of death was the 1 stab wound to his heart and 12 to his lungs, believing that those were the ones that finally killed the little boy. Forensic entomologist Neil Haskell testified on the time of death using insects, explaining that certain insects lay their eggs in the remains. The insect's development can help pinpoint the time of death. Haskell examined the insects found on Christopher's body and considered the environmental conditions the body had been exposed to and determined the time of death was prior to sunset on the day he disappeared, August 7th. Evidence collected from Tim's vehicle included a hammer that was caked in mud, as well as a bucket. Blood was discovered on the carpet of the trunk, as well as on various items inside the trunk, including a lug wrench, dent puller, and a bottle. While police searched the motel room, as well as Tim Bus's apartment, no knife was located. Illinois State Police Forensic Science Lab examined hairs collected from Tim's car, as well as part of that T-shirt that was recovered. It was determined that the 2 hairs found in the front passenger area of the defendant's car matched Christopher's unique hair structure. Additionally, a hair discovered on the T-shirt fragment also matched Christopher. A footprint that was recovered near the dump site was analyzed and seemingly belonged to those boots that Tim had thrown in the motel dumpster. Blood was also discovered on the boots, although tests to confirm if the blood was human were inconclusive. There was more blood discovered on the dent puller found in the trunk of the car. Additionally, there was a stain of human blood on the trunk carpet that had soaked all the way through. At the gravesite, human blood was found on a box near where Christopher's body was found. DNA tests were done on the blood recovered from the box, and it was determined to be Christopher's blood. Now, the defense had its fair share of witnesses as well. They called 3 witnesses who claimed that they saw the defendant around the time Christopher disappeared. To challenge the reliability of these eyewitness identifications, the defense then brought forth witnesses whose testimony suggested that the defendant was not the person seen by the initial 3 witnesses. Furthermore, the defense attempted to weaken the identifications made by the state's witnesses by presenting testimony from other witnesses who thought they may have seen the defendant with Christopher but couldn't positively identify him in lineups. A man named Thomas took the stand and testified that on August 7th around 5:30 p.m., he saw a boy and a man fishing near the Aroma Park boat launch. But the boy resembled Christopher and the man resembled the defendant. However, he couldn't positively identify anyone in the lineup. The old "it wasn't me, it was someone else" came into play when Michael Ingalls took the stand to say that around noon on August 8th, he spoke with a man at Harry's Bait Shop in Aroma Park. The man mentioned that he had driven to Illinois from Florida, describing the man as being in his late 30s to mid-40s with black hair and a mustache. Ingalls noted that the man was driving a white compact car. Now, of course, this was to illustrate that maybe, just maybe, there was another similar-looking man in the area at the same time. You know, Jen, they just need a little bit of doubt. They just have to put a little bit of doubt.
A little bit, yep.
In there.
It's all over.
Because obviously, Tim Bus had claimed he didn't murder Christopher, but a man who looked just like him must have done the crime.
Mm-hmm.
If you have sensitive skin like I do, you know how hard it can be to find a product that doesn't cause irritation. But today's sponsor, OneSkin, makes it easy. Their topical supplements are formulated with soothing ingredients and natural antioxidants. Plus, they're gentle enough to use every day, even if you have sensitive skin like me. Free from over 1,500 chemicals and preservatives that can make skin red, irritated, or itchy, their products are safe for sensitive skin. It's just one of the reasons they've earned the Skin Safe seal of approval.
Founded by an all-woman team of scientists, OneSkin products are backed by extensive lab and clinical data to validate their efficacy and safety on all skin types. And not only that, they're the first and only skin longevity company to target cellular senescence, a key hallmark of aging. Their topical supplements are the easiest way to keep your skin healthy and hydrated without the harsh ingredients or irritation often found in other skincare products.
You know, I've been using the OS1 face and eye cream for about a month now, and I am really liking it. I'm very picky with my face and eye cream because sometimes, the fragrances that they use can dry out my skin, but this doesn't really have any scent to it, and I love it. Plus, the best part, it's so easy to use. Just cleanse, pat your face dry, and apply the creams. I use them twice a day. Plus, they fit in nicely with all my other products. Now, for a limited time, you can try OneSkin for 15% off using the code OTCP when you check out at oneskin.co.
OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. So get started today with 15% off using code OTCP at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code OTCP. And after your purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. So please support our show and tell them that we sent you.
In the end, with all the forensic evidence as well as witnesses who could put Tim Bus at the boat launch on that fateful August day, it was all said and done. After a trial in the Circuit Court of Will County, the jury found that the defendant was guilty on all charges, and it only took 4 hours of deliberation. Furthermore, the jury deemed that the defendant was eligible for the death penalty based on 3 statutory aggravating factors. Number 1, the defendant had been convicted of murdering 2 or more individuals. The murder occurred in the course of a felony, and the murder victim was under the age of 12. And his death resulted from exceptionally brutal or heinous behavior indicative of wanton cruelty.
Double check
Ding.
on that. Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. The jury concluded that no mitigating factors warranted leniency. The circuit court sentenced Timothy D. Bus to death for the first-degree murder of Christopher Meyer. Additionally, the court imposed sentences of 30 years imprisonment for aggravated kidnapping and 5 years imprisonment for aggravated unlawful restraint. In attendance to watch the trial and the verdict was Tara Sue Huffman's loving older brother, Richard Huffman. While the death of Christopher Meyer is beyond tragic, and I'm sure we all agree on that, it is somewhat comforting to know that Christopher sparked a conversation that led to change. After Christopher's death and the revelation that his alleged murderer lived in their community, people in Illinois began demanding better protection for themselves and their children. This led to the passing of a new law requiring authorities to inform the community about sex offenders living near them. Now, before this, most states, including Illinois, already had laws requiring sex offenders to register with local police upon release from prison. But these laws aimed to help law enforcement keep track of the offenders in the community. It didn't really help parents know that you have a predator living next door to you. Many felt that these laws, the ones just involving the police, didn't do enough to help protect their own children, especially considering that some of the offenders continued to commit violent acts, often targeting children, even after the release. To address these concerns, more states started passing laws requiring or mandating police to notify communities about the presence of sex offenders. While such a law might not have saved Christopher Meyer, his death reignited the debate and prompted Illinois legislators to propose similar legislation. The Illinois Child Sex Offender Community Notification Act enhances existing laws by requiring authorities to inform the community members about the presence of sex offenders in their neighborhood. And today you can still look this up. If you Google it, it's a little disheartening to tell you the truth. If you look it up, and you'll see all the little red dots on there.
Mm-hmm. You can do it here too and see who's around.
Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's almost all states have those. But
Right.
So at this time, that did not happen. But this crime caught my eye mostly because Richard Huffman noted that composite sketch's eyes, knowing that those eyes had killed his baby sister all those years ago. Mm-hmm. And he did it again.
Sure,
he was out,
right.
did it again.
I don't understand, one, how they let him out.
After 12 years.
Yeah, 12 years. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's half of his sentence, but still.
Well, this was controversial because he was only 13 and he was charged as an adult. I believe that they thought the 25 years was too harsh for a 13-year-old. But
Obviously
hindsight's
it wasn't.
2020.
I know.
It was not. It was not.
Horrible.
That's Christopher Meyer and Tara Sue Huffman. And just little
Babies.
innocent faces, right? I can't imagine how that affects.
Background was he just a psychopath, or was there any background that would have
Just 13, and one victim was a female, one was a male, so he's just a child predator. You know, he came to stay with his grandma up there during the summers, or to spend time with her, obviously.
just
He had moved
took
to Florida.
advantage of the situation?
And then, then came back. So, unbelievable.
Unreal. What a bastard.
Yeah.
And so he's still incarcerated, or has he been?
No, so he was on death row, but in Illinois abolishing the death penalty, he is now serving life in prison. And he's 4 years older than us. He's 59 now. So, Jen, I hear that we, meaning you and I, are doing something pretty exciting next summer. I'm sure everybody has heard this and their ears are bleeding because we talk about it.
I know. Well, we are. We are going to go do a dark history tour in the UK, where we go to Scotland, then York, then we go to London. And normally, we probably wouldn't talk about this anymore because we were all filled up. But we had somebody wanted to go. We couldn't say no. So we opened up more spaces.
We did.
We did. So we have 3 or 4 more spaces left. So
you know what that means?
Mm-hmm. That means you have an opportunity to come with us.
You have an opportunity to go on vacation with Jen and Cam.
It's next year. It's 2000.
Not this year. Not this summer, but next summer.
If it was this summer, it'd be really short notice. It is next year, June 13th through the 22nd. Is that correct?
Jennifer is correct, as always.
Everything is included in the price. That is including your flight, shuttles to and from the bus, all stays at a 4-star hotel. We're not going to do any hostels or anything like that. We're going to do it.
No.
We're going to do it right because we're going to do it. There's 7 tours that includes all the tour guides. There's breakfast every day. There's going to be 2 meals or 2 dinners. We'll be traveling in a luxurious motor coach to each destination. And the final night, we are going to do a fancy smancy murder mystery dinner.
Woohoo!
It's going to be amazing. I am so looking forward to it. You got to come with us. That's all I got to say. You got to come. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You do. You just
going to be a lot
come
of
with
fun.
us.
I'm really looking forward to going to York. I've heard so many good things about it. Some of the buildings there were built in the 1300s. And
so they're as old as you.
They are. I'm excited to go back and see my youth. But actually, there's a shopping district, I think, called the Shambles. And that's what was the inspiration of Harry Potter's Diagon. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. Diagon Alley.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. And there's one store that I really want to go to. You can go in and buy your own ghost.
Mm.
So
and it comes home with you?
And it comes home with you.
Can you choose if it's a good ghost or bad ghost?
You just go in and buy a
good one
ghost
for myself and buy somebody else the bad one.
You just go in and you buy a ghost.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But there's so much to do, so much to see. We're going to do all sorts of tours. There's in Edinburgh that we're going to go see. There's a castle in Edinburgh we're going to go see. Just a lot of things. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. And
promise
ghost tours too. We're going to do a couple ghost tours, so it's not just going to be history tour. It's going to be
lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
Should anything good on the telly?
Kind of just the normal Under the Bridge, Will Trent, My Taskmaster, and the usual Palm Royale. I finished that. That was really good. I loved it.
There's going to be part 2, right? There has to be a part 2. The way that left
I would
us.
think so.
Yeah,
but you never know. So I loved all the costumes.
Yes. Yeah.
Another show on Apple TV that I watched that I'm now caught up with is Acapulco. That's really cute. It's an uncle who is talking to his nephew, telling him like his life story and how he became wealthy and how when he was living in Acapulco, he worked at this famous resort. And that's kind of what led to his success. It's set in the 80s, and my favorite characters are the lounge singers at the pool.
Yeah.
Every now and then they'll like just do a flash to them, and they're singing old 80s songs, but in Spanish, and they're like in big, colorful 80s costumes. I love it.
That's cute.
It's so great. It's cute. It's funny, and it's endearing, and it's the 80s. I love it. Very colorful. Very colorful. And it's kind of fun because half of it's in Spanish, and of course there's subtitles, and the other half is in English. And my oldest daughter is pretty fluent in Spanish, and she'll come in and she's like, "Do you understand any of this?" And I'm like, "No," but she does. And I'm like, "You really should watch it. I think it would really,
She should.
Yeah. And then my younger daughter is not very good at Spanish, but she's taking it. And I'm like, "You really need to watch this just to help your Spanish." just so maybe you can pass Spanish. So,
oh boy,
it's good. It's cute. It's really cute.
Oh, good. I'll check
I like
it out.
it. Mm-hmm.
Good.
We're on the 3rd season of it, and they're just half-hour episodes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, there's 3 seasons.
There's 3 seasons. I know. That's what I was shocked too, because I'm like, oh, this looks fun, and I started it, and I'm like, wait, there's 3 seasons. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But now I'm so caught up, I have to wait until every Wednesday to get the new episodes.
I hate that.
For the 3rd season. I do too. Just can't everybody just drop everything at once?
Yeah,
it just makes it
binge. Just makes it so much easier for us. And isn't that what matters? I think so.
I think so. And what about you? So. I know you're watching everything.
Well, I finished Palm Royale as well. I started watching Loot with Maya.
Yep, that's cute too.
Yeah, it was super cute.
So what did you think about Ricky?
I think he's cute.
Well, he's cute, but
he kind of just always looked like he was under a filter.
I know. Always.
But,
they all were. They all were. Like,
yeah.
It took me 2 episodes to notice that was Laura Dern.
She produced it, and then her dad was in it too. But yeah.
Right. I usually don't care about who produces it or anything, so I didn't pay any attention. But like the 2nd episode, I'm like, holy, I think that's Laura Dern.
It is.
Oh, it is.
It is.
So, but I was happy to see her dad. I've always liked him.
Yeah.
And Carol Burnett, I wish she had more of a part.
Well, she's got a good part.
She's got a good part, but there's just not much to it. But
yeah, there's not.
I've always been a Carol Burnett fan.
She looks great, doesn't she?
Well, could it be the filters, or does she really look good? We don't know. We don't know. I have to look her up.
Oh, I wish that was in life. We could just walk around with a filter.
I know. It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Right?
Save all that money on Botox.
Cam, you look great. Thanks. It's the new filter.
It's golden, the new filter.
Golden hour
sunset.
filter.
Under the Bridge. Do you like Under the Bridge?
I do
think
a lot.
It's really good.
Yeah, I need to catch up. Yeah, that's just happy summer's here. Got 1 more week of school, and then
we're out. We're completely done.
I know. Not us. Right?
I know we were supposed to go on vacation this week, but due to family circumstances, we couldn't go. So we are now vacationless.
You're going to be staycationing.
Staycationing, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
that's okay.
It's all good.
It happens.
It does.
All right, Jen. Well, I guess until next time, we'll let you go and do what you'd like to do.
Make sure you check out. We will put a link to our trip. If you guys haven't seen it or looked at it, we'll put a link in the show notes, and it will be fun. It'll be worth the time.
It will be.
And the money. Yeah, actually, there's a woman here in our area that we're going to meet in a few weeks. She's coming on the trip with us. So
so excited.
We'll get to be buddies before we go.
I know, right?
And it could be you.
Could be you. All right. Until then, Jen, remember, lock your doors.
And keep passing by those open windows.
Bye-bye.
Love ya.
Today's episode was researched and written by me, Cam. For more information about this episode, as well as all the sources I used, please check out our show notes or the podcast website at ourtruecrimepodcast.com. Our True Crime Podcast is developed and created by hosts Jen and Cam. Original music and audio mix of all our True Crime Podcast episodes is courtesy of Nico Vertesi from We Talk of Dreams. Listener discretion is provided by Edward October from October Pod VHS. Our True Crime Podcast is executive produced by Nico Vertesi and Dick Vane. Make sure to like and subscribe to Our True Crime Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. We can be reached on Instagram and Facebook at Our True Crime Podcast or on Twitter at Our True Crime Pod. You can email us at ourtruecrimepodcast@gmail.com. If you really like the show, make sure to check out our Patreon at Our True Crime Podcast. Our True Crime Podcast is an OTC production.